Welcome to DroneCast, Rethinking Public Safety One Drone at a Time, a podcast by DroneSense. We explore real-world applications of drones in emergency response, offering a close examination of evolving trends in drone technology and its impact on public safety. I'm your host, John McLeod, Director of Customer Success here at DroneSense. Hello, and welcome to DroneCast. I'm your host, John McLeod. Today, it's my pleasure to speak with Lieutenant Taylor Wade from the Lake Travis Fire Rescue. Taylor's been a firefighter and advanced emergency medical technician with Lake Travis Fire Rescue since 2013. Taylor holds a bachelor's and master's degree in criminology from the University of Texas at San Antonio. And notably for us, Taylor is the UAS Program Manager for Lake Travis Technology Aiding Command Team, or TAC. We're excited to have Taylor with us today to discuss his use of drones in firefighting. Welcome, Taylor. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, John. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to share what our organization is doing.
Yeah, thank you. Your kind of academic background stands out when I talk to a lot of fire people in terms of the criminology component of it. It is more typical from what I see from the LE side of the house, but here you are, a firefighter and EMT, and I know there's always a fair amount of joshing back and forth between LE and fire, but was that always the plan, or how did you end up where you are?
Yeah, so I always knew that I wanted to be in public safety. There was a 4-year degree at a college university close to where I lived, and they had a great criminology degree program. So I was going through that route, and then I had an opportunity to volunteer with a smaller fire department in the area and really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the public safety aspect through that fire service lens. So I decided to just see it through, keep working through my coursework, and then hopefully that they could overlap at some point in the future. So that's what led me to this point right now.
Big shout out to UTSA as a fellow San Antonioan. Always love to hear they're doing well. So let's take a minute to orientate kind of the listeners to your organization for everyone's benefit who maybe lives outside of the Central Texas area. Can you tell us a little bit about where Lake Travis Fire Rescue is and the community you serve, and a little bit about the organization?
Yeah, absolutely. So Lake Travis Fire Rescue sits on the western side of Travis County, covers 104 square miles. It's a very diverse topography area. We have the Lake Travis, that sits in our backyard. And then we have the Lake Austin that runs through our city or through our area as well. There's also a lot of wildland-urban interface. So this separates the large, densely populated areas from the unpopulated areas that have a lot of heavy vegetation. You can imagine that has challenges as well. But we have 6 stations at our organization. There's a little over 100 uniformed personnel. We do have a fireboat that we have on Lake Travis. Approximately 6,500 calls for service this past year. And just a very diverse call type, given the topography, terrain, population, demographic out here.
Yeah, and just for the listeners' benefit, I'm a little biased because you are the local fire department serving my wife's school where she teaches at. So shout out to you guys for keeping them and the kids safe. I've been in Central Texas for about 30 years now, and I've really watched the community that you serve go through tremendous changes in that time period from where it was when I moved here for retirement, lake recreation, ranch land, and it's really exploded. The Lakeway, Lake Travis, Bee Cave area, population growth, economic development, shopping, traffic. It's really changed a lot and really turbocharged growth out there. How has that growth rate affected your agency?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say some of the biggest challenges in those, like you mentioned, just the overpopulation, that it's just take that turbo growth rate. And I would say just keeping up with the demand with our resources, with all that explosive growth, and also just the linear shape of the district. We have one main highway that runs through the district versus like a grid pattern, other traditional organizations. I would say those are some challenges that we have, but we have phenomenal leadership that's done an exceptional job in forecasting and planning for the growth in this area. And then we stand up extra resources for special events or holiday weekends and such.
Awesome. So now that we have that orientation, can you talk to us a little bit how the TAC team got started and how someone saw the potential to use drones in that program?
Yeah, definitely. The drone program for Lake Travis Fire Rescue started approximately 6 years ago. It primarily lived in the prevention and fuels mitigation area of our organization. At that time, there were 4 individuals that had their Part 107, and this was really the foundation of our program and what got it running. The people that were with the program at that point in time, they did see the value, they saw the potential, and they used it for post-flight images on large-scale events and fires. They also explored mapping with our fuels mitigation program, as well as looking at payload release devices with extinguishing devices for firefighting applications. So the value and potential was seen years ago. And so it was really neat. And then the drone program then several years later started to plateau. We had retirements that happened, just changes in leadership, but we still had the drones, but there was just nothing really pushing the ball forward. Moving forward to a little over a year ago, the program was reestablished and I was given the opportunity to be the program manager. And we were at a really good position to build upon what was already established because the buy-in was in a sense there. There was drones, we already had some drones, we already had some pilots, so we had some foundation to work with. So as we were developing the idea of what our drone team should be, we kept going back to the vision and focus of how can we leverage technology to provide command with the most information possible to then aid them in their decision-making process. We were wrestling with this and the name TAC, the acronym TAC came about, and that's technology aiding command, because that's really what we're doing. We're just wanting to leverage that for command to better their decision-making process. And so all the support that we've had early on and up until now has been phenomenal. It's really positioned us well for revamping the program and getting us to where we're at.
With that precedent, where is the program today? What are you guys excited about that you're working with now?
Yeah, so there's a lot to be excited about right now. We've taken that point and we've moved progressively forward. So currently today we have 11 FAA Part 107 pilots. We have 10 more that are currently in the process. The hardware that we've built up to, we have 4 of the N3Ts that we're flying, along with some minis for a training platform. And then we have the DroneSense software and the MSAT capability. We also have other softwares of flight simulation, so we can use that for training. And then we have an internal app that we built out and we'll continue to build out. That's really our electronic flight bag and a one-stop shop for policies, procedures, videos. So that's been really, really great to do that and be a part of it. And then training aspects, along with the software, we have the NIST course that we've just recently built out that we're very excited about. And this is foundational for our pilots. It's levels 1 through 3. We have 3 the open lanes for level 1 through 3. And then we have levels 4 and 5 as well for the obstruction and confine. So that's exciting. And then what's also exciting is that the program's expanding beyond the prevention aspect that it was originally. Now it's expanding into operations as well as really into the training division as we build out the training platform for all the new pilots.
Oh, that is exciting. The NIST course in particular is a great asset to have for a program as well, too. I know it can be pretty reductive to say for a lot of use cases in public safety that a drone is a multispectral camera that's just hovering in the sky, but that we use them more broadly than that for a lot of different values. So when you're communicating the value proposition for your program in firefighting, what do you talk about and what's kind of the use case you describe to help people understand?
Yeah, definitely. That's such a great question because firefighting goes beyond just putting water on fire. Firefighting goes into rescue capabilities and prevention and assisting our partners in special events. But talking specifically about the firefighting aspect, we have the thermal is phenomenal. It's come through for us in a lot of situations so far with the heat signatures, hot spots for wildland, structural applications. Just the other day, we had a special event for 4th of July, and we saw an active ember that we spotted with a thermal drone that we were able to extinguish before it spread. So just applications like that in the fire arena have really, we've seen those really evolve. And then in the rescue application, we have the lake, we have a lot of this wildland urban interface with heavy vegetation. So it really gives command this good visual. Command has always been just on the radio and hasn't had that visual of what the rescue's looking like and how it's unfolding. So now we're able to give command eyes on as that integrates into what they're doing. It also offers a light resource. So over the lake or on a wildland call at nighttime or any other application where you need a remote spotlight, it offers that use as well. Also, smoke investigations with firefighting is really big. This has a lot of impact with resource allocation and our resource efficiency. So if you have one engine going to a smoke investigation and then they spot the smoke pretty far away, then you have to dispatch another engine. The drone mitigates that by finding exactly where that smoke's at. We can then exactly tell which resource to respond. So we're able to cancel the ones we don't need, send the ones we do need. And so there's a lot more efficiency with resources for those smoke investigations. And we've done that multiple times. And then going beyond just the fire and rescue, the assisting our law enforcement partners with things that they have going on that they need assistance with and special events, such as parades. We just had the July 4th parade, other large gatherings, and then the solar eclipse that we just did this past April. So just large events like that, they've been very, very useful for us in our organization.
You kind of got into the meat of the next question I was going to ask you about use cases, but it did inspired me a little bit to ask, when you talk about using your program to aid command in terms of their decision making, their visibility into what's happening, we often see this progression of, in some agencies, having to kind of train upward a little bit about, hey, we have this resource command, because people in command are busy. And so getting them comfortable with that resource sometimes can take a little bit of time. So I was just curious about, when you're working with the leadership of your agency, what that relationship has been like, how you've been able to develop it over time.
Yes, that's a great question. So it starts really at the grassroots level, and just when I'm working on duty and I have the opportunity with another battalion chief or someone that has potential to be in that command position, I go over there, visit with them, show them the technology, show them a practice run and the capability it offers. So every opportunity we have to just informally train and just build those relationships and that understanding of what the technology can do for them has been great. And then we have formal trainings that we've begin having and meetings that we continue to formalize the process. But it's really just that exposure and getting out as often as we can with whoever we can and just putting in that work to get there.
Awesome. One of the other things I've observed about your program in specific, and I mean it as a sincere compliment, is you guys play very well with others. There's a number of agencies that you guys are adjacent to that are independent. They all have their own ideas and they all have their own dynamics that they have to answer to. But you guys seem to work really well together and plan together really well. That's better than a lot of communities that I've seen. I watched and participated briefly in the training you guys did for the Eclipse, and it was very well run, very well thought to, very well attended. And I know this is an area sometimes people struggle with. There are just some tensions inherent between agencies sometimes. So I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit, for the listeners' sake, about what sort of things you guys do, what's working for you, and how you kind of manage some of those big personalities.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, it's one of the great opportunities we have to work closely with so many other agencies that surround us and just collaborate with them and train together. I do have to give a shout out to Emergency City Manager. She does a phenomenal job of getting everyone in the same room. So that definitely helps to have that leadership in that position. And then from our organizational aspects, just having just that one-on-one time with other leaders of other programs has been really valuable. Sitting down, breaking bread, just having those conversations and forming those relationships has been extremely valuable. So then when you have a big meeting coming up where you have an opportunity to train together and grow together, you've already established those relationships. So I would say that's been very impactful for us to do that early on.
That's great. What you alluded to, that you have obviously multiple 107 pilots in there, and you've got a NIST course as well too. So obviously you're doing some continual skills training that you're doing in repetition, and just any other apparatus or tool in public safety. We forget our skills if we don't keep up on them routinely. Tell me a little bit, how are you keeping the folks in your program sharp these days?
Yeah, so it starts with communication. So communication is really the building block and foundation of everything we're doing. And we're sending out, we have obviously the email chains, we have monthly work groups that we're doing. We have direct communication where we can meet one-on-one. But really when we're onboarding pilots for that initial phase, we see who's interested. We see where the interest is and who's motivated. We then put them through a series of courses, starting with their FAA Part 107 course. We then go through a flight simulator software that we do, and then we work them into the NIST course, as well as some other just fly days and trainings that we have. And then the recurrent training to keep the pilots sharp who are already in the process. We have a mandatory 30-minute minimum of flight time each month. But again, that's a minimum, so they can definitely exceed that if they'd like to. We have monthly work group meetings that are virtual via Zoom. So we're able to talk about updates, and then we talk about any deep dives. So we dive into software, we dive into a certain program, we dive into a new procedure, and then we have any takeaways where we can all just talk and share about those together at the end of the meeting. So that's been once a month, and it's proved to be very valuable, and everyone's really enjoyed that. We also have fly days that we're doing. So these can be done once a month. We're trying to do these regionally once a quarter, but definitely have them about once a month internally, just to sharpen up our skills, go through the NIST course, just practice different scenarios with that. And then also just taking advantage of just special events that are happening in the area. Special events is always a great opportunity for pilots to come in and get some good flight time and learn some new skills, refresh on some things. So just making sure we get that communication out to all the pilots and that we're able to work together and be a part of those special events.
Now, One of the probably most unsung people, I think, in our universe are program managers like you. You have a new piece of technology. It has a lot of compliance elements. It has a lot of technical elements. There's personnel management. You do it a lot of different stuff. And in addition to all those things, you have to use it to actually impact your community, to save lives, to make life better. And then you get done. You also need to kind of advertise what you're doing internally. You may have constituents and stakeholders that are leadership in your department, city managers, city council, political leaders. What do you guys do to promote the wins of your program? How do you tell those stories? Are there metrics? Are there anecdotes you're telling? How do you guys do that, making sure that people understand the impact you're having into your work? So particularly every year when you've got to come up with funding, you've laid the path for that as well, to have a program that continues for a long time.
No, that's definitely a great question. And we thought about that a little over a year ago when the TAC team started up. And we asked ourselves that question. And so the resolution we had to that was developing a post-flight report. And that's something that can be done after every single mission and event's flown. And that's capturing metrics such as the mission type, who responded, and we're capturing this data, and it's also capturing time saved on scene because of the UAS from other resources there or resources canceled. So all this metric and data that we're gathering, we're then compiling this and we put it into data that can be shown to our leadership team. So we share these graphics and figures with leadership. We do this on a regular basis. We try and do it quarterly. That way they stay in the know, as well as publishing it for their bosses and the commissioners as well. And our PIO does a phenomenal job of really highlighting the wins for our organization. So she sends out internally our Friday reports. So these Friday reports highlight everything that the organization's doing, and within that, wins and things that the TAC team is doing to assist the community. And then also on social media, having that presence with external stakeholders has been really beneficial as well. Another piece of it's the magic link that DroneSense offers. So we tie in certain pieces of leadership and individuals within our organization to receive these magic links anytime there's an incident or event, so that they can then see the live video, and then just continually builds the conversation so that they can see the tangible benefit of everything that the TAC team's doing for the organization. Like I said earlier, just regular meetings with leadership has been big. Just having the open communication with them has been really valuable. And then also just the grassroots level communication with those in the stations and those within the community. So just having the positive attitude, sharing the wins, and then just getting feedback on how it can be used better and in ways that we can really magnify and exemplify what we're doing to help everyone around us in the organization.
Yeah, and shout out to whoever's doing your social media. As I alluded to before we got on air, I follow you guys on Instagram. You do a phenomenal job for an agency of your size of just highlighting, hey, we are human beings working in our community. These are the things that we're doing. I think you do a fantabulous job of it, which is, I think, is really important in something that a lot of agencies struggle with, which is when you're working in public safety in a community, there are multiple people who have interests in privacy in particular that sometimes drones get into, and keeping everyone informed, even when everyone's very well-intentioned, can be very challenging. And in particular, I've noticed you guys out there have done a really good job of that over time for years, even outside of the drone program. I remember taking my daughter to an event you guys did at a middle school. You had a lot of apparatus out there and trucks, and you were really talking to people. And it was very clear you guys were very committed to forging an intimate relationship with the community and making time and devoting resources to it. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the things you guys have done and what you feel has been successful in that place?
Definitely. So one of the things that has been successful is what you alluded to, is that Public Safety Day. So we're coming up on our 13th annual Public Safety Day. That's a wonderful time to just really be transparent with the community and highlight the programs and everything that the fire department is doing for the community. It's also a good time to just have all organizations together in one spot so we can talk with, network, meet our neighbors. So it's really beneficial for organizations that are participating in that, as well as the community. But that's a wonderful time to set up the drone. We have the battalion truck there so we can set up the live feed so that the community can see exactly what the service it's providing on incidents. Also, parades, any opportunities we have to go to parades and talk to the community and interact with them there, other community events, and just really any opportunity that we can just to get out there, fly the drone, show the technology, but just mainly have that transparency about what we're doing and the benefits, and that drones are really for good and this is what they're being used for. It's been really positively impactful for everyone.
Awesome. Perhaps some advice then for agencies during the early stages of putting together a program within fire, a UAS program in particular. Hindsight is sometimes really 2020 when you look back. When you look back at your own program, is there any advice you might offer some folks who are thinking about trying to do something like you guys are doing, which you wish you would have known or wish you would have not done or done along the way?
I would say some of the biggest advice is just lean on the people around you that are already doing this, and also ask a bunch of questions. You don't know what you don't know. That was a position I know I was in as a new program manager in our organization as we were getting this revamped. So there was a lot of learning that needed to occur and still needs to occur. Just asking questions, developing those relationships, going to lunch with people, and just really seeing what our neighbors are doing for communication, software, hardware, policies, procedures. And the really amazing, cool thing is that everyone's so welcoming and so willing to share information, so we can all continue to build each other up in this common goal. Yeah, so just leaning on your neighbors. And then one day, the really cool part of that is then being able to pass it forward and then being that resource and the advocate for other agencies that are newly developing down the road.
One of the exciting parts of, I think, working with UAS and drones is the very fast rate of evolution of the technology, right? You just get used to using one version of an aircraft and the next version's already coming out, right? We're just growing at this fantastical rate. When you think about the evolution of using UAS in firefighting or emergency medicine, and you look ahead in the future, say 3 to 5 years, are there things that get you excited that you would like to be able to do, or technology you're looking forward to becoming more available that'll be impactful in what you're doing?
Yes, there is. And just to see where it's come from years ago to where it is now, it's just so encouraging to see where it's going. But a few things that really stand out is the whole DFR program, and just the FAA waivers that are developing and making that possible is really encouraging and exciting to see that happening across the country. Something particular for our area is just payload releases and drones with that payload capacity to be able to carry larger pieces of equipment, and seeing that develop the way it has been, especially with the lake and other rescue environments that we're positioned next to. But yeah, just the water rescue aspect and just seeing how we can really leverage it for that. I would just say, yeah, the DFR and the payload release, and just, I feel like there's a lot of really great, exciting application with that. Also too, with the more the drone can carry, the more application it may have for actual firefighting techniques that may be implemented in the future. So we'll see how that develops.
Those are all the big questions I have for you today, which means it is time to pass the mic to you for a shameless plug or something you're excited about, and tell the people how they can find you if they're so inclined to reach out, want some advice, or just to pick your brain.
Awesome. Yeah, I would say the big thing that's on our radar right now is just the NIST course that we've just built out. This is really big for us. We have a wonderful new training center, and we're developing that right now. And so to have the NIST course as a piece of that for all of our regional partners to come and train, for us to train, is really exciting. So that's always open to anybody in the area. And there's just some great resources and people available to help set you up with that. So that's been really encouraging, motivating to have that and get that going. And just the shout out to all of our partnering neighbors next to our organization that have been so tremendously helpful. And I just can't thank them enough. And also, I'm just really excited to pass that forward one day and be that resource for other organizations that are up and coming with their drone programs. So it's just an exciting time to be a part of it. And yeah, just thank you to everyone that's gotten us to this point. And then, as I think, email is always the best way to reach me. My email is twade@ltfr.org. That's always available. I'll be able to answer that, and then we can get connected and get any questions answered and work through anything we can do.
Thank you, Taylor. That's very gracious of you. And again, thank you for taking time away from your busy schedule to visit with today and sharing all your thoughts and your experience. And thanks to everyone on the internet for listening with us again today at DroneCast. And we'll see you next time. DroneCast, Rethinking Public Safety one drone at a time, is brought to you by DroneSense. To find out more about DroneSense and how our comprehensive situational awareness platform can help you fly, share, and manage your drone program, please visit DroneSense.com. That's DroneSense.com. And then make sure to search for DroneCast in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else that podcasts are found. Please don't forget to click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at DroneSense, thanks for listening.